Well, hello and welcome to The Point. My name is David Flame and I'm the minister here, and it's great to welcome you today. Our church is in lockdown at the moment, but we're delighted to give you this opportunity to find out more about Christianity through what we're doing here today. We'll be meeting for about an hour, and you can dip in and dip out as you like. If you're watching this on YouTube, on our follow-up, then you'll be doing it on your own. But if you're watching it on Zoom live, then you can interact as much or as little as you like. And the opportunity to ask questions and to see how you're getting on as time goes by. If you want to stay quiet, that's absolutely fine too. We want you to be as comfortable as possible here. At the moment, we're going through a series. We're looking at one of the books of the Bible called Galatians, written by a man called Paul, one of the earliest followers of Jesus, from way back in the 50s AD, a long time ago, but still with plenty to say to us today, especially about the thorny subject of freedom. Let's read what Paul has to write as we look at Galatians 5. If you've got a Bible, then you can follow, but you don't need one because we'll be looking at it on the screen. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. I think Paul's idea here is that rather than by obeying the law, obeying a set of rules, which is how if you were Jewish, you got to be righteous with God, or the Gentile idea, the Greek idea that it was about education and you learned your way to be a good person. He's saying that it's a gift of God. Christ has set us free for freedom. Don't go back to what you used to be. Mark my words, I, Paul, tell you that if you let yourselves be circumcised, Christ will be of no value to you at all. And what he's saying is that if you allow yourself to be circumcised, you're going back to the law. And because Christ is beyond the law, there's no point in him if you're following the law, if that's the way you're going to be going to heaven. Again, I declare to you, every man who lets himself be circumcised, that he is required to obey the whole law. So it's not just this sign that shows that you're obeying the law, you've got to do the rest. You who are trying to be justified by the law have been alienated from Christ. You have fallen away from grace. For through the Spirit we eagerly await by faith the righteousness for which we hope. For in Christ Jesus neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. We have two very different approaches here. One is a very straightforward approach, is following Jesus in love and through faith, and the other is obeying the law. But if you do obey the law, you have to obey all the laws, hundreds and hundreds of them. What Paul is saying is that when they ask you, just be circumcised, that's all you need to show that you're properly a Christian. Actually, the logic of that is no, it's not. You've got to follow every single law. You're going to be trapped in the laws. It's going to be a snare to you rather than the freedom we find in Christ Jesus. And now Paul again changes his tone as he tries to persuade them of the logic of his position. You were running a good race. Who cut in on you to keep you from obeying the truth? In other words, you were doing the right thing, and then it went horribly wrong. Not your fault, of course. Somebody else has persuaded you the wrong way. And that kind of persuasion does not come from the one who called you. This is not from God. And then he quotes a proverb, a little yeast works through the whole batch of dough. And we might say that one bad apple spoils the whole lot. That a little bit of this badness that's coming in there is going to spoil everything. But Paul still thinks there's a chance, there's a hope that they'll follow the right way. I am confident in the Lord that you will take no other view. The one who is throwing you into confusion, whoever that may be, will have to pay the penalty. Brothers and sisters, if I'm still preaching circumcision, why am I still being persecuted? And this is a reaction to fake news from Paul. Somebody, somewhere, must have said that he was still preaching circumcision, that he's told everybody, oh yes, Paul wants you to be circumcised. And he's pointing out, well, they wouldn't be out for me if I was doing what they wanted. In that case, the offence of the cross has been abolished. And the sort of Greek says rather than offence, it's the stumbling of the cross. And the cross is a stumbling block, especially if you believe what we had as a quote for a few weeks ago, which was that cursed is he who hangs on the tree. Anybody who's put up on a pole to be publicly ridiculed has obviously done something very wrong, otherwise they wouldn't have done that to him. But in Jesus' case, that wasn't true. So the offence of the cross has been abolished if Paul is saying that people should be circumcised, but he's not saying that. He's still preaching the offensive message of the cross. And then he lashes out and says, as for those agitators, I wish they'd go the whole way and emasculate themselves. So when it's more than circumcision, they should cut everything off, which is quite a harsh thing to say, so you can see that he's particularly annoyed at them. In today's passage, Paul has reached the peak of what he wants to say in Galatians, talking about this idea of freedom. But what does it mean to be free? What is this freedom he's talking about? Which brings me to my question. Paul writes, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. But free to do what exactly? What is it that we're free to do? Is it anything we like? What we need to do is work out the answer to this question. So if you're watching at home on YouTube, then you can pause the video and answer the question on your own. If you're watching on Zoom live, then I'll put you in groups and you can have some time to discuss this question. If you've got a better question, if you think, actually, that's not really what I want to ask about Galatians, I've got something else I want to ask, then please bring that forward first. Otherwise, we'll put you in groups and we'll bring back together in a little bit. Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for taking part. But before we go, here's my takeaways for this week. So what must we do? Well, first of all, don't give up on our freedom. It's very easy for Christians to add to the gospel, to add things that are extra and say, okay, well, we're now Christians, but there must be other things we have to do as well. There must be other rules that we have to follow. Well, instead of all those hundreds and hundreds of rules, we just have one. Follow Jesus in faith and in love. But number two, we should use that freedom wisely. Imagine you've been set free from jail and you said, I'll just stay outside here. I won't do anything else. I'll just stay here. Whereas actually there's a whole world out there. And in the same way, we've been given our freedom in Christ. So let's use that freedom wisely. Let's use that freedom to love and serve our neighbours. Right now, that's a bit tricky because of coronavirus and the lockdown, but there are ways. So which ways can you serve your neighbours this week and show them the freedom of Christ? Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again soon.